So I wanted to start today off with an interesting thought and question. So uh, most people, I think, watched a football match yesterday, and the commentators made a couple interesting things that really made me think about something. So the age-old question is, does offense or defense win championships? What do you think?
I think you have to have both.
Okay, fair. Jim's late to the call, so y'all are gonna have to talk to me if
Defense all
you.
day long.
Okay, so I think the age-old answer, Jet, is defense, right? Like defense wins championships. I think we've been trained to believe that. So the commentators yesterday said Spain's strategy to win was offense. And so much that if they kept the ball, the possession of the ball, the majority of the game, it kept the ball out of the hands of Argentina, and that was kind of what we watched. So in a way, Spain's strategy yesterday was offense, and by playing offense, it kept the ball out of the hands of the other team, which by and large, I mean, they shot 20 goals and Argentina shot zero in regulation, right? Like it was crazy. But it's making me think about real estate for a minute. So in real estate, are the consumer, uh, if we stay in relationship with the consumer, we get to the consumer first offensively, we're keeping that consumer out of the hands of the other agents. So, for instance, if I stay in touch with my database, I'm keeping my database out of the hands of walking into an open house and getting picked off by another agent. I'm keeping my database out of the possibility of going on Zillow and clicking a button to see a house. If I'm uh, offensively getting into relationship with people at open houses, or I'm offensively getting into relationship with people online, we've talked the concept of speed to lead. That's an offensive strategy, right? Getting people in a buyer rep agreement faster than other agents is an offensive strategy that I think causes you to win the game. And I just started thinking about it yesterday during that game because I heard those commentators say that. They were like, Spain's strategy is offense. And the more offensive they are, it keeps the ball out of the hands of the other team. And I mean, I could argue it, but they won, right? I don't know. What do you think? Kind of crazy opening question.
Can I
Makes
can
sense.
I counter it?
Yeah.
So if you were to use this analogy in real estate, my brain goes to the concept of the your database, right? So if you painted very different worlds where you were constantly proactively going after new contacts, new leads, bring them into your space, but never had the backstop of bringing them into a database and protecting and keeping from sifting out of there, full offensive strategy. Would you rather do that or take your database and really love and nurture and don't lose anybody that's in your hand over the long run? Which would you take? You want both, right? You want to fill up your database and you want to nurture it, but would you rather always go after the new leads or constantly work your database if to paint an extreme example? That's kind of the way I think
Hmm.
about it.
I don't think there's a right or wrong here. It's just a thought, right? Anybody else have thoughts? Y'all are alive. Jim, answer the question.
What's the question?
Just join. It's all good. Matt, you have a thought? You came off mute.
Oh, I've been
I,
off mute.
I this is Toya. So my thought
Yeah,
is that the other team had really poor. My thought is that the other team had to have had really poor defense in the first place. So I think I'm agreeing like it's both.
it's both.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because the other team had to have poor defense if they couldn't even get the ball back. Didn't watch it, but interesting.
got it. All right. Well, I think the message I'm trying to land here is I think in real estate, offense is actually a better strategy than defense. And the faster we get to people, the more in relationship we get with people. We're keeping the ball out of the hands of the other real estate agents. We're keeping our people in our world and not in others' world. Um, and I don't know how many times over the last 27 years or whatever I've been in the industry, uh, I've heard the story of the agent whose next door neighbor listed their house with somebody else. And it just tells me they weren't playing offense, right? Like they weren't in relationship with the people. And we get mad about it, but it's really our responsibility, right? Anyway, fun thought just for yesterday's World Cup finale. Jim, you missed it. I'll fill you in later. Got it? All right. Rockwall County, 244 active status changes. Certainly a noticeable dip from the last 2 weeks, but it's more than the 3 previous weeks before that. So I think we're going to see listings coming and going. Um, and I think most of the time in July, you see the listings slow down. Um, I was encouraged the last 2 weeks because it felt like the listings actually sped up from where they had been for a couple of weeks prior. Um, but 244 is probably a neutral number, right? 37 properties went active option. That's a big jump. So there's some resilience going on in the market. There's some activity going on in the market. Ironically, that's the largest number of Rockwall counties had since uh, first week of June. So all of a sudden, there's some movement going on in terms of people buying houses. Um, we're sitting at 57 pending and 38 closings in the last 7 days. That closing number is quite low. Um, but let's see, right? If I run to Dallas County, you got 1548 active status change, a little softer than the week before, better than the week before that, but consistent with a couple of the weeks prior to that. So kind of a neutral number, right? Uh, Active option was 317. This is a larger county, so I'm going to kind of show you what I'm seeing. You got 317 this week, 302 the week before, 286 the week before that. Those numbers aren't the same as 330, 350, 340. So there's a little softening that's happening in Dallas County in terms of properties going under contract, which is a different storyline than what I'm telling about Rockwall County this week. Like this week, all of a sudden, popped a lot of under contracts. 398 pending compared to 374 and 385 the weeks prior. Same story. It's just a little softer than what we were seeing. We were in the 440, 420, 440, 400. We're just a little softer in pendings right now. And there was 415 closed out in the last 7 days, which is a great number comparatively. Uh, it's not 470 or 430 or 440, but 415 is still pretty solid for Dallas County this week. If I jump to Collins at 1485, big drop in active status changes this week. So they had a big week last week and kind of an off week the week before, which is kind of comparable to what we have here. So this is kind of what I'm saying. I expect the listings to slow down a little bit in July, just because of the seasonality of it. But they had 203 go option pending, 210, 202, same story. It's just a hair softer than what we were seeing. So nothing crazy, just a hair softer. But 301 pending compared to 308, 314, it's just not the same numbers as 350, 360, right? Just a little softer right now. Now, 387 closings in the last 7 days for Collin County is a great number compared to 300. Um, and it's getting close to 400, which 400 seems to kind of be a healthy number for Collin County. And then just to round us out, if I jump out to the lake, we have 112 active, so a little softer. 21 went option pending, which is a big number for Henderson County, like Rockwall. You got to go all the way back to May 25th to see a number at that level. There's 21 pending, which is a great number for Henderson County, and 16 closings last 7 days. Once again, it's just a little softer. I think the message right now is depending on the pocket, of course. Rockwall seems to be a little bit of an outlier of properties going under contract in the last 7 days. Henderson's a little bit of an outlier, yet I think the market's just a little softer right now. Not falling off a cliff, softer. Jim, you study. What do you see?
Yeah, I think we're just seeing our natural progression of going to the back to school time frame. We sometimes have an August spike. I don't know, Brett, with everything going on, I'm not feeling like that's what it's going to be. But with where we've been hovering with rates, I mean, they've gone up a little, down a little overall, just average, sitting around that 665.
Yeah,
I
so
think the
Friday
numbers
it
are
was
honestly really good.
663.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just looking at that, you said it a little bit ago. This market's resilient. We're giving gifts. You don't know which week you're going to get a gift. So, especially this time of the year, you've got to be ready to receive it, which means you got to be how you were leading this call of you got to be in a relationship with people and constantly nurturing it.
Yeah. The big thing, this is interesting because inflation tends to be the one metric that could kind of really mess us up. In the height of the Iran conflict, it got up to about 4.2. In June, it's cooled off and actually came down to about 3.5, which is a good thing because when inflation's moving back down, it reduces pressure of the Fed changing the rate. I still think the Fed might push on the Federal Reserve rate. But I see this as a good sign for us. One of the things that I've said on here before in previous weeks is we don't know what's going to happen to inflation if oil starts flowing.
Yeah.
Now, the crazy thing is, in the beginning of the conflict, the price of a barrel of oil went north of $100 a barrel, which is what caused the inflation to go up to 4.2. In the month of May, that price of a barrel of oil came down into the high 70s, which I tend to believe is what caused inflation to come down a little bit in the month of June. Now, on Housing Wire this week, Logan's talking about can the housing market weather Iran conflict 2.0? So he's calling it 2.0, like this next wave of conflict that seems to be inevitable in the media space and what's going on globally. The the question he's posing in this article is exactly that, Jim. Like, um, in the past few years, housing demand always slows down when rates go over 6.64. Now, it doesn't mean housing demand will go down. It's just that's what history says. And today's rate is 6.64, basically. So we're kind of at that. Where's my article? We're kind of at the threshold of mortgage rates that could start to be a little more disruptive to our industry in our market. Do I think mortgage rates are going to go up? I don't have the crystal ball uh, to predict it. On one hand, I'm asking myself, I feel like the mortgage rates today are already priced as if we're in conflict with Iran. And if the Federal Reserve starts playing with the Federal Reserve rate, does that push that mortgage rate up a little bit higher? I don't know, Jim. We were on this call back in the inflationary years going, heck, we saw the rate go down when they raised the Federal Reserve rate a couple times. So I don't know how to predict that. But I do know if the rate gets close to 7, we are going to feel it. I don't know if the rate goes to 6.7, we're necessarily going to feel it.
Yeah, right now they've got on the Fed watch, they've got the chance of them bumping up the Fed rate only at 14%. So that's good news.
That's good news. I think it has to do with this inflation coming down.
Yeah, absolutely it
Yeah.
does. Because a week ago it was basically 50-50. But yeah,
Yeah.
this whole market just hinges on what's going on across the seas right now. And you're right, Brett. We can't know which way the pendulum's going to swing. The only thing we can do is what we can control, right?
Yep. So there's an article on RIS Media that's a little bit confusing, but it says consumer sentiment was up in June, but the economic optimism is still elusive. I think the economic optimism or pessimism is a day by day, news article by news article feeling, right? Like there I still go with the thought process that the consumer is resilient right now. And if you dive into this article, it's kind of weird because it starts talking about how it got better in June. However, we're still way down from where consumer sentiment was a year ago, pre-Iran conflict. So the consumer's less confident right now than they were a year ago, but they're more confident than they were in May. And I think that's a positive thing for us from an economic standpoint. Any other thoughts on economics before I move past this?
Not really. I think you kind of hit on that a second ago, Brett. Consumer sentiment, man, I feel like that used to mean something, right? Meaning consumer sentiment was this long drawn out piece of how you saw kind of the economy going. And now everything just moves so quickly and we're so in tune to what's going on every second. I mean, we get notifications on the silliest things in real time. And so I think that just makes things swing. So that consumer sentiment, I think at any given point could just swing up and down. And I don't think it measures how it used to measure.
Yeah. So these next two articles are fascinating to me. The housing starts went up 20% in the month of June. Like builders starting new houses, right? Which I find fascinating. And then the second article kind of counters that and it's on the same housing where it says housing permits near cycles lows, even as housing starts beat estimates. So we're still not producing a lot of new construction. However, the builders increased those permits and starts from May to June. So I like watching the builders, Jim, because I think they're very smart economically, and they play a game of 6 months out, meaning if I start a house today, I'm asking myself the question, what's the market going to be like 6 months from now? So if I'm starting new construction today, I have a goal of that inventory hitting the market early spring next year. Like that inventory is going to hit the market in January. And are the builders betting on the future or not? I kind of think they are. But I do think that the building new construction market is definitely down right now. But I also think they're betting a little bit on the future too.
Yeah, and for our area, I think that's pretty key. Is we want that
Yeah.
to be down. We've got building everywhere, and if we look at the last in just kind of our backyard and looking at Rockwall, looking at Royce City, where we see just a ton of building, there's one indicator that I've seen change over the last 2 months, and that's how much the builders are negotiating, because they've been negotiating about 11 or 12% off their list price, which is huge. And so then the last 2 months, it's kind of they're not negotiating as much. I think last month they were only negotiating 7%. So still negotiating quite a bit more than what we're seeing on the resale market, but they're pushing their prices up, and they don't want to get stuck with a ton of homes on the ground. And that's only going to keep the resale market strong, right? It's going
Yeah.
to allow us to hold strong on the resale market because their prices are up and their inventory's down. This is good news, but knowing that, hey, their permits or their starts, if they get those up, we got to watch that inventory.
Absolutely. Jen put in the chat, shouldn't we all bet on our future? Absolutely, Jen. Um, I just look for insight into how other people are betting. Does that make sense? So I always have believed, and in every market, I believe we can create our own reality.
Yep.
You may have to work harder to get the reality over the finish line. But I absolutely believe anybody can hit any number in any market. And it doesn't take us back to, hey, how are other people thinking about the market right now? And builders are an interesting group to watch in how they're thinking.
Yeah, as I was sitting here kind of thinking about it, they also know what metrics to kind of push and pull on, right? They know what numbers they're looking for to really get their business going, and then they know what to do on that side of it. It's just very methodical.
Yeah.
That's how we should be.
All right.
And Brett, can I interject a quick question?
Yeah.
Super anecdotal, but Jim, the other day I noticed just driving around, it really caught my attention, and this is very anecdotal, but just how much dirt is being turned around Rockwall County from like a commercial construction standpoint. I know that's not kind of a numbers indicator, but I feel like I'm almost really surprised about how many new projects are currently taking off right now from a commercial standpoint and what that might mean for our area.
Yeah, the Valeries are good from an investor standpoint. It's a good time to get out there, buy dirt. Because if you do believe in the next 8 to 12 months that we're probably going to look at something different, even just slightly different, it makes a lot of sense. And then you look at, I mean, heck, just all the homes that they're putting up, the more rooftops they're putting in, that's going to drive more commercial business. So all we're seeing is growth, and they can't keep up with the roads enough. I mean, we complain about it in the office all the time. Like, you can't drive around Royce City right now. I mean, you basically got to drive up to Josephine and back around through Lavon to get into Rockwall. They see it coming. They're trying to build infrastructure as quick as they can, even if it means that everybody hates the city right now. But you're exactly right. Dirt's moving everywhere, and that's a good thing.
Well, and I think, Jet, the other context to that, kind of what I'm saying is residential construction takes 6 months. Commercial construction takes a year. So if they're moving dirt today, they're looking at coming to market a year from now. And that just says that they're willing to bet on it, right? They're willing to bet on economic development. They're willing to bet on the futures of real estate, both in commercial and residential, right? Um, and I think, I mean, how long has the bridge been under construction?
It's never been not in construction.
I was going to say, as long as I know. However, it probably was a year-long project to open the extra lanes, right?
Yeah.
And that is specific to population growth of our area.
Yeah, I
Like
feel like there was a lot of wait and see sentiment for a good bit, and now I feel like I'm driving around going like, man, there are projects going on everywhere, and I'm just really curious about how, the anticipation of kind of turning the corner on kind of this mentality in the marketplace and what that's gonna be 12 months from now.
Yep. Let me hit something else because you probably saw this on the news wire last week. So Keller Williams acquired this 1,200 agent group, the Jason Mitchell Group. It's called JMG. So on one hand, JMG apparently is like one of the largest real estate teams in the country. But what I wanted you to understand about it is this Jason Mitchell guy has an enormous connection on third party aggregator real estate business. He gets leads from Rocket, Mr. Cooper, Redfin, Zillow, New American Funding, Veterans United, all kinds of platforms, and he has more leads than he can handle. So his joining of Keller Williams is actually designed to be a lead distribution network, and they're going to push leads down to market centers at some point in the future through this guy. And I don't think we'll see anything of it for 6 to 9 months. But I do believe this may be a new day and age where there is some more leads coming from the corporate level, probably through this guy down to us in the market centers. And I think that could be a good thing. It's not just Keller Williams acquiring a big team. It's actually Keller Williams acquiring a lead system that uh, will drive leads down to the market center level, I believe. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you know what I like about that, Brett, is Keller's not sitting by going, well, that's not our business model. We've never done that. They're
Yeah.
looking around and seeing how the landscape's changing and going, no, we're going to beat you at doing that too.
There you go. All right, guys, there's your update. Happy Monday.
Have a good
Did
one,
your
Brett.
team win,
Thank you.
Jim? Were you
No,
a Spain or
I
an
was
Argentina?
rooting Argentina. That was
I was too.
in my South American roots. I was really pulling.
It's all good. We lost. All right. Moving on. Bye, guys.
Bye bye. Have a good day.
You too.